Okay, good evening. It's January 16th, 2020 at 7:15 p.m. This is the Littleton Zoning Board of Appeals. We're at the town offices at 37 Shattuck Street, room 103. We have a new guest of honor, the new building inspector that I'd just like to introduce. Ed Mullen, for those of you who don't know him, has been formally appointed as our new building enforcement officer. And we'll be looking forward to working closely with him.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm calling case 939A, petitioners Taylor Curtis and Jessica Rosenblatt for a special permit pursuant to 17360 to allow for a second building as a detached accessory apartment at 3 Barron Way. And I have to, excuse me, Madam Chair, I have to recuse myself from this one. For the reason that you have a financial interest in this matter. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3 regular members. I need 2 alternates. Before I select an alternate for this one, can I just ask, were any of you 3 here for the Great Road 15 Great Road comprehensive permit? None of the 3 of you were here. Okay. So I want to start at that end. I'm going to have John and John be the alternates for this one, and we'll move to the right. The way we do this is you present your case. The board will then ask questions. Then we'll ask if there's any abutters who have any objections or any questions. And then we could come back to you for more discussion or more questions. Okay?
Sounds good. So I'm Taylor.
I'm Jessica.
And we are in the process of purchasing 3 Barron Way. There's a second building on the property that we would like to use as an in-law house, and that's why we're applying for this permit to basically authorize it as a detached accessory apartment.
Board members, questions? No?
No, that's an existing building.
It's an existing building, yes. We're not proposing any changes.
And what were they using that for before? Just curious.
I believe it was an office.
Yeah,
I vaguely remember that case.
The history of this property is that there was a
Yeah.
Reiki studio that they were using for treating clients and patients. And we had given them, at the time, we had given them some special permit because I think the building sits forward of the front line of the house. And I think it was an accessory use they needed a special permit for. And at the time, we conditioned the special permit on there being no occupancy in that building because it didn't meet the criteria for a in-law dependent accessory dwelling. Our bylaw now has accessory dwellings and we don't need the in-law dependency anymore, and so their building is pre-existing and they want the board to legitimate it as an accessory dwelling. We're allowed to grant an accessory apartment by special permit under 17360. Call your attention to that bylaw. And it says in 17360B, detached accessory structure, if the following criteria are met, the apartment complies with the requirements of 17358E through G. E through G basically says the owners continue to occupy one of the units as their primary residence, and that there's off-street parking for the accessory apartment in addition to the off-street parking for the principal. And I think you have put that in your narrative.
Yeah.
And then if the driveway is located within 15 feet of the lot line, there's some landscaping required, but I don't think that's an issue here. And that the exterior appearance is consistent, and you can see that from the pictures. Everybody all set with that? Hey, do I have any abutters who'd like to speak to this petition? On Barron Way, yes.
I just have a question.
Would you just identify yourself for the record,
Yes,
please?
Stacey Scott from 1 Barron Way. I don't know anything about zoning laws. So my question, or I just wanted more understanding as to how it would affect the residents if it would ever could be used for like business or like a rental property. If by changing this permit, is that opening the doors for that property to be used as such, or is it still just a residential property for?
Very good question. Under the zoning bylaw, this accessory apartment can be used as a rental of a residence to renters. It cannot turn into a business that exceeds the home occupation requirements, which means no more than one employee, and the owners have to be in occupancy of the other building. That answer the question? Yes?
Lacey Gelati, 130 Pond Road. I'm just curious if there's any differentiation with rental allowance, long-term rental versus a short-term rental opportunity.
As far as I know, Littleton has no distinction. Are you talking about the Airbnb versus a residential rental? As far as I know, we have no Airbnb regulations in Littleton, and we don't have any short-term rental prohibition. Is that right now?
No, I believe that to be correct.
Yeah. Like anything else, if something becomes a nuisance, you certainly have some recourse to various boards.
Sure.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to read the building inspector's comments into the record. 3 Barron Way. The petitioners are requesting a special permit pursuant to Section 17360 of the zoning bylaw for a detached accessory apartment. The structure was previously approved for home occupation use. The square foot of the accessory building, according to the plan submitted, is 1,580 square feet. The criteria under 17360 appears to be met. And I believe what you're referencing is that there's something in the bylaw under 17358D, which says 1,200 square feet. We don't reach that because the detached doesn't have the same square footage limitation. Okay.
Chair, for the record, that would be the assistant zoning enforcement agent that drafted those notes.
Thank you. Who does a very good job. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? Move to close. I'll take a motion to close.
Is there anything from the Board of Health on the size of the septic system?
They were off, asked for comments, and we didn't receive any.
And we didn't receive any. And in fact, I think you've already been to the Board of Health. You address that for the board member, please?
Oh, yes, yeah, so we went to the board last month, and they approved it, basically, yeah.
So it'd be 2 bedrooms?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a nice property. Did anyone get over to see it?
I've seen it before.
Yeah, real nice property. Okay, motion to close. Who wants to make it?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, now, you want to have any discussion on this, or are you ready to make a motion?
I'm ready for the motion.
Okay, you do it.
Move that we approve the special permit.
Pursuant to 17360, to allow for a second building as a detached accessory at 3 Barron Way. Second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Passed.
Thank you.
Well, we're staying right on schedule at the moment.
They're all that straightforward.
Myself over.
Okay, the next matter is going to need a little background information. I'm going to call the case of 937A. It's a continuation. The petitioner, Charles Bell, seeking a variance pursuant to 167 for an express waiver of the 3 acres of size requirement to be included in the overlay district for 474 Great Road, and also at 735, the case of Charles Bell seeking an appeal of the decision of the zoning enforcement officer dated April 2, 2019, also at 474 Great Road. I am going to make a recommendation as follows. The history of this, I have to appoint 1, 2, 3, 4, you're the alternate, okay, Kip.
Okay.
The history of this property is a little bit complicated, but straightforward. When Sam Park built the Point, the Bell property was asked to forego some land for the rounding of the corners, to make the extra turn lane in front of that property, and to have the signal lights in front of their property. And Mr. Bell agreed to do that with a agreement with the town that they would take his property and put it into the Village Overlay District so that the business he's running on that corner, which is the locksmith business that probably we all know about, would be legitimated because his business had exceeded the home occupation size, but he was now turning into a very commercial corner and a very commercial situation, and he agreed that was a fair trade-off. We then went to town meeting, led by the planning board, to vote at town meeting to amend the Village Overlay District. Was it Village Overlay, am I saying that? Or the Beaverbrook Overlay District, to include the Bell property and the one next door into the Beaverbrook Overlay. Fast forward to recently, maybe about 6 months ago, zoning was doing a check, and they said that he had exceeded the home occupation size, and so the building inspector or the assistant building zoning enforcement officer issued a letter to him saying that he had exceeded the size. Mr. Bell then retained counsel, and they brought that here as an appeal from that zoning enforcement decision. And the reason for that is because in the Beaverbrook Overlay District, it said you can run a business by special permit, but the property had to be at least 3 acres. And the Bell property is less than 3 acres. And so we, as a board, said, we really can't say that the building inspector is wrong, that the assistant zoning enforcement officer is wrong in her conclusion that he's under 3 acres and he doesn't satisfy the requirement, or that he's exceeded the home occupation. Both things are true and accurate, except that we believe that it never went to town meeting with the intention to vote him into the overlay and then exclude him because of the oversight, that nobody realized at the time that there was this 3-acre problem. So we then went forward and I said, I think we can do this by a variance, where this board can grant him a variance to the 3 acres, but he probably would still have to go back to the planning board for the special permit. We all think that because he's pre-existing and because the planning board recognizes that this error happened, that when he goes to the planning board, he'll have no difficulty. But because 2 things have happened. One is, unfortunately, Mr. Bell's attorney has passed away, and he hired a successor that has not sort of made herself current with all of the issues that are going on. And because we don't know what the planning board's going to do, I suggested to Mr. Bell that we do this tonight, that we vote up or down on the variance. I'll poll the board ahead of time, and if the board is not inclined to grant this variance, I'm going to continue to allow Mr. Bell to retain counsel, because I asked him not to extend one more time. We've extended many times already, and I'd like to move this forward to the special permit authority and the planning board where it should be.
We sent this to the planning board.
No, we did not. We informally asked if the planning board would weigh in, and the planning
Right.
board said they will not without having Mr. Bell appear before them.
Oh, okay.
The second part of this is, I also want to continue the request to appeal the building inspector's decision, or the cease and desist. I want to continue that and ask the Bells to sign their agreement to allow the times to be extended for that, for this reason. If he gets back to planning board and he doesn't get his relief at planning board, I still want this board to have the possibility of giving him the relief here by something we've done in the past, where we've said, the building inspector isn't wrong, but we're not going to enforce the cease and desist, provided it's this business and not an expanded business. I don't want to use that route today. So the first thing I'm going to ask the
In 10
Bells-
years, we've done that once.
I know.
And very, very cautiously.
Yeah.
And with the caveat that we weren't going to do that again, kind of thing. So
Well-
we don't do that lightly.
No, we don't do it lightly, but I firmly believe that this is an instance where he got caught in the middle of an unfortunate set of town events. And he was playing fairly, and I don't think anybody intended for this result to happen. And
Well, the situation he's in is stupid.
yeah. So, the first thing I'm going to ask, and now it is 7:30, so I might wait till 7:35 to ask for your continuance. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you to come forward and essentially present the case for the variances. You're asking this board to grant a variance from the three.
I have no counsel. I do not want to come up and say a word.
Okay.
Every time I do that,
Okay.
it's been 15 years going.
Okay.
So I have a problem with that. I'm
Okay.
not going to say anything.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
All right. The petition is here before you to discuss whether you would be inclined to grant a variance from the 3-acre lot size minimum. Now, council and I spoke about this, and there's a few concerns about, he still has to go to special permit, he still has to go to the planning board. And at the planning board level, I think that if there's any change of scope of the size of the business, the truck traffic, or a change of use of the business, like right now it's retail sales and service, if it went into, industrial or warehouse storage or dispatch, I think he'd have to go, I know he'd have to go back to the special permit. A new owner would have to go back to the special permit granting authority, because that's how everything is in the Beaverbrook overlay. So my inclination here is for this board to just decide on the 3-acre variance, and then, again, get the continuance on the other and send him off to the planning board.
This isn't exactly spot zoning. I mean, we worry about spot zoning, and that's what you're talking about with the special permit thing. This isn't spot zoning. This is pushing him over, or stretching it over to include him, which seems rightfully obvious to me.
We already did that at town meeting.
I know, but
Spot zoning would have been if we just asked his property to get into it.
Voted unanimously.
Was voted unanimously at town meeting.
so
So we're just looking for this board to decide if we can vote a variance from the 3-acre lot size minimum.
can I just make a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that we grant a variance from the 3-acre lot size pursuant to 3-acre lot size minimum pursuant to
173, 167.
173, 167 in the Littleton Village Overlay District, West Beaverbrook area. I think that's all I need to say.
Yes, and before you do the motion, I want to just read the recommendation. The Assistant Zoning Enforcement Officer's recommendation is, the petitioner seeks a variance from 169 Plan Development, which states projects involving less than 25 acres but more than 3 acres may be approved by a master plan development special permit. The request is for a waiver of the 3-acre lot size requirement. In 2012, the property at 478 Great Road, through a town meeting vote, was added, this property and the one beside it was added to the Littleton Village Overlay District, West Beaverbrook area. The underlying zoning is residential. The lot is also in the Aquifer and Water Resource District. The site is .4 acres and has a residential dwelling and accessory structure. Based on the review of the information submitted, owner requests, let me read it right. Based on a review of the information submitted and the ongoing case appealing the home occupation violation, some other options would be send the owner back to town meeting to change the underlying zoning from residential to IA. The use of the property could be office, which is permitted in the IA district, then apply to the planning board for site plan review. The house would remain legal pre-existing non-conforming residence until such time as there's a change of use. 2, the owner stated that he owns another parcel of property in town, move the commercial vehicles to the site on Taylor Street, which is zone business, and continue the home occupation use for the office under the home occupation bylaw, which would allow for activities by residents of the dwelling, plus not more than one additional employee. 3, determine whether the criteria is met for granting a variance from 173, 169 Master Plan Development, noting that Section 173, 171A, use exceptions, states variance for uses per 173, 6B2 of the Littleton zoning bylaw shall not be permitted in any project submitted as a master plan development If granted, the owner would then need to apply for a master plan overlay development special permit and aquifer and water resource special permit from the planning board.
So we need
So-
to show a hardship, or,
Well, I think we've shown the hardship. I mean, he was, the
okay, it should
hardship
be
is-
stated in the minutes, or whatever it
Yes,
is.
yes, in the decision. Okay, so now I'll take a motion to close.
I make a motion, we close the hearing?
Yes, second,
Second.
Who?
Second.
and then Cheryl, I'll have you repeat your
All in
motion.
favor?
Sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now Cheryl, repeat your motion.
Okay. I make a motion to grant the appeal of the 3-acre minimum at 474 Great Road.
No, it's for a variance.
For a variance.
not
Okay.
The appeal.
Grant the variance requested at 474 Great Road pursuant to 173 dash what?
I think it's 167.
167 dash 169. To the Littleton Village Overlay District West Beaverbrook area
I think that's enough.
to allow, do
I think that's enough. You got-
That's all I have to
yeah,
say?
just a variance from the 3-acre minimum lot requirement.
Someone want a second?
Second. Who was that?
Kitty, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So
Now, you s-
basically, the planning board has to give a special permit, but they won't
Yes,
address it.
they've got to go to the planning board next.
But they won't address it until we provided the variance.
Correct.
Yeah.
They can't address it without that variance. Now they can give him a special permit. Okay, the next thing I want to do is take a motion to continue the appeal of the decision of the zoning enforcement officer. And I think you have to sign an agreement to extend the dates for that. And that'll preserve all of your rights, but send you out of this venue and into the special permit granting authority next.
We're just trying to get rid of you.
Do we have a date certain on that?
Yes. So I want to continue that. Let's do 2 months, because I don't know if they'll be able to hear you next month.
Even better, that's fine.
Okay.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, in speaking to the town planner this afternoon, I recommend 3 months. They're fairly booked at the planning.
Okay.
Town meeting's coming up.
Fine. We're not in any rush to do this, but I think you should try to get to the point. April 16th.
I make a motion, we continue case 925A, appeal for force of Assistant Zoning Enforcement Officer's decision for 174 Great Road until April 17th, did you say? 16th at
Let's do
7:15?
7:15.
2nd.
Second on that? We're on, and you stay on it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You all set? You're welcome. Okay, now, I would like you to announce that I'm still on schedule.
Yeah, that's amazing. 3 hearings.
Calling the 740 case 938A, continued case of petitioner James Williamson, seeking a variance pursuant to 17331 intensity of use schedule for a reduced front setback at 11 Samoset Trail. And I have to recuse myself for this hearing, so Cheryl will take over the chairmanship. I have a financial interest in the open.
Okay, do we have enough people from the last
I
time
need
we
to
had the
appoint,
hearing?
I need to appoint someone who hasn't been on trial one of the cases yet.
Well, no, somebody who was here
Somebody was here last.
somewhere,
Who was
yeah.
here last time?
Right.
I was here.
John, you were here?
I
But we need 5. 1,
You got it?
2,
was here last time.
Yeah, she was here last.
5. Sorry, John, you're out. Okay, so, or John Fields is out, John Seawall is in, and Kitty's in on it. Is he,
This is Jerry's.
come forward, please. I'm opening case 938A, 11 Samoset Trail.
I don't know if you guys want to see these or not.
We do.
Sure.
And we want to hear from the neighbors. Give us a second.
There's 2 sets.
bigger version of this.
Same thing?
Where we at here?
Mark, you want to scooch
Well, I've
over
got the small,
the small one?
yeah, I mean,
It's still
Okay. So
trying to figure this one out.
4x8 plastic.
Takes out 4 feet from the existing house.
I have it here somewhere.
New pictures.
I had a smaller version, just trying to find it.
So this is, where is the house come to right now?
So the house comes to, I mean, I guess it's kind of
Is this where the house
right
comes to?
there, exactly.
So the house comes right to the stairs, and the front of the house is exactly 15 feet off of the,
It's 15 feet, 3 inches off of the current property line.
so you seek to go 4 feet further into the
Yeah,
front?
3 inches less than 4 feet, but more or less 4 feet.
Okay. All right, is there anything else you want to add to this? Want
If
to
you
tell us
guys-
about your meetings with the neighbors?
So I brought the plan that you guys are looking at with an existing as-is plot plan to all the neighbors. Some of them were home, some of them weren't. The ones that weren't, I left a message saying, you know, this is the plan, I know you guys wanted an input. Here's my phone number, if you'd like to add any input, if you have anything to say, please feel free to call me. I did speak with some of my neighbors. Most of them seemed pretty comfortable with it. They were happy that I came by and talked to them, and I guess that's about
I want
it.
to correct a couple of misconceptions that you had that when you were last here. You made the comment that we had granted variances like this in this area before. There's a difference. Those are pre-existing buildings. Those are, one of the things that the ZBA does is try to help people who don't fit into the normal zoning rules with things that don't make sense and to correct hardships for them. You created this hardship because you built the house where you did. Therefore, you really don't fit into the variance requirements. So when we do this, we're doing it to make it work for the neighbors, is what we're doing. And to add injury to insult, our zoning enforcement officer, or assistant building inspector, warned you repeatedly that this was a problem. Can we get input from the neighbors? Would you like to say anything?
Well, if it was a problem, why do we keep on going?
Right now, he can either bring the grade up, we can deny this, in which case he's going to bring in a whole bunch of fill, put a retaining wall and a lot of grade there. Is your preference to have the stairs go the way that he's designed them?
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with what he came to the house and explained it to me. I have no problem with it at all.
I have a feeling that's better for you than him bringing in that much fill and putting a retaining wall. What?
How did it get to this point that it went too far?
He has a right to build within the 15 feet. He only had to be back 15 feet. He just didn't make allowance for stairs. He didn't realize that the height variance was going to be so dramatic, and he can bring the dirt in and build it up and stay, and not need the variance from this board.
I don't think the dirt's gonna look that as good as this.
No, I don't think it will either.
Yeah.
It's nice to have houses that look nice next door to you, rather than... Anyone have any questions?
I have a comment. According to the assistant zoning officer, they could go to 3 feet, not 4 feet. So why don't we look at it as 3 feet wide instead of the 3 by 8?
Maybe the stairs coming up?
Yeah, 3 feet from the house instead of 4 feet.
Instead of making it 4 feet wide, make it 3 feet wide?
Yeah.
You need 3 feet clear of the handrails, or just 3 feet?
Just,
Well, let Shelley comment. She made that suggestion.
I was just questioning whether it had to be, between the house and the handrails had to be clear 3 feet, or just...
there's not. 3 feet. It's not to be clear, the handrail is not, it's not considered an impediment in the path.
Ah, okay.
Anybody else feel that way?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, we cannot amend your plan without your permission. So what we're saying, what I have members of this board saying is that they would be willing to approve this plan if the platform and stairs were 3 feet wide instead of 4 feet wide, so that you would be going, instead of going to only being, being another foot back from the road, basically, is what they're worried about.
I think we can make a ruling with that condition.
We can't redesign, we can refuse to approve anything and ask that if he would be willing to.
No, I think we can say we approve the plan as shown, except it cannot be more than 3 feet from the
We've
house.
gone down to the,
We've done that many times.
Or just specify the setback.
Or-
Minimum setback
or do it from the
is
setback, yeah.
12, if it's 12 feet. So if for some reason the house is a little further back from the road, then it gets more than.
I really think we can't redesign his plan. I really think we can only approve or disapprove what he has put in front of us unless he agrees to redesign it for us in front of us now. Are you okay with 3 feet?
If that's what you guys want to do, I'm completely fine with it. My concern with the 3 feet is that you can see that the existing stairwell going up right now is 8 feet. So if I'm going from 3 feet to 8 feet, I think it's going to look a little strange. Does that make sense to you? If you're going up 3 feet, and then you get to the landing, and then the stairway turns into 8 feet.
Oh, he's going like this. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, if that's what you guys want, that's fine.
Well,
Okay.
basically, we theoretically should not be approving a variance that's self-created. So,
I understand. Whatever you guys want to do.
Okay. Can I get a motion to close the hearing, or do we want more
Do you want to
discussion?
read the comments?
yeah, you should read Shelley's comments into the record.
Thank you. Where are they? The owner submitted a sketch January 14th showing the proposed landing and stairs. Per section R311-3, the Massachusetts Building Code, the width of each landing shall not be less than the door served. Every landing shall have a dimension of not less than 36 inches measured in direction of travel. The proposed landing is 4 by 8 and could be reduced to 3 by 8. Per last month's notes, September 30th, the applicant visited the building department and stated he'd be installing a granite landing at the bottom of the front stairs, then another set of stairs down to the driveway. There is a solution without further reducing the front offset.
Okay. And the setback right now is 15 feet 4 inches?
Front setback is,
The setback is 15 feet. The corner of the house, that'll bump out of the house, is currently at 15 feet 3 inches.
So we could say, would that be where the stairs are, 15 feet 3
Yes.
inches minus 3 feet? So if we can't design it, maybe we can say that the
no,
setback can be.
he's okay. He's redesigned it for us already.
No,
He
but I'm
said
saying-
he said he's okay with 3 feet.
Yeah, but we should be approving the setback from the front, not
Right,
the width of the
exactly.
stairs.
So, can I have a motion to close the hearing?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Someone second it?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, discussion. Now we can have discussion.
Yeah, so we're saying that the stairs can be no closer than 12 feet 4 inches from the property line.
I would just say 12 feet.
Yeah, or
I
whatever.
would,
Yeah.
you know, the 4 feet, I mean, if his handrail goes over, stop. We're not,
It's not that close, 12 feet's fine.
12 feet.
Yeah, I mean, but, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
a
what
little
we're
bit of
giving the variance for, not the width of the stairs.
I have one question. I know that code states that the stairs have to be at least 36 inches wide. Typically with composite decking, the railing is, on top of it. So I'm not gonna, you're saying that the railing won't affect that 36 inches?
The handrail.
The handrail. Okay. That's my only concern.
So just the boards need to be 36?
Just the boards.
The boards need to be 36 inches width and travel. If you're gonna put your rail on top, you need to have 36 inside clear of the newel post. But your handrail, the grippable handrail that sometimes sets inside, you'll have it with the 4 inches they're already giving you in this.
Yeah, if we do a
Yeah, that's what it sounds
12-foot, if we allow a 12-foot setback, then he has 3 feet,
4 inches.
.3, yeah, which is 4 inches.
Yeah,
But no, handrails are 4 inches wide.
I mean, the posts,
Posts,
posts 3.5.
3.5?
He can make it work, I'm sure.
It's gonna be tight, but we can make it work.
Another option if he doesn't want to do it.
No, that's fine. We can make it work.
okay.
So Do you want to give him another inch? Because I got to tell you, I'm building a railing from my deck that got collapsed, and it's this wide.
Yeah, they sit in a little bit.
I
12 feet plus or minus.
you can't do plus or minus. We got not, if it's not greater than 12 feet, he can't go greater than 12 feet.
I defer to the building inspector and.
Hilma, and you'd be hard
Assistant
pressed to
zoning
find
officer.
exactly the line to measure from to get
All right,
12 feet
And-
versus 11 feet,
you
11 and
He'll be
3/4
work with
inches.
Mr. Mullins and
Then he'll provide
Shelley
the building
and
permit.
make it follow their advice this time, okay?
Sure.
I'd entertain a motion. Someone create a motion. I can't do it. I'm chairing.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve a variance on case 938A, providing a setback of 12 feet
For staircase.
Pursuant to,
for, pursuant to section 173-31,
right,
for reduced front setback at 11 Somerset Trail of 12 feet
To allow for the
to allow for the construction of stairs.
Nothing else gets built.
Yeah. just
Only allowing it for the staircase.
Yeah,
And the landing.
setback at 12 feet for the staircase.
you want to reference the plan?
It's not
Well, I
really
think I mean, he can
identifiable.
build anything else he wants, as long as it's not within 12 feet of the road.
It's not really an identifiable plan, no date, no drawing number or anything,
He
so.
can't build anything he wants, he can only use it to build the stairs, for a staircase,
Yeah, that's it.
for a staircase,
And landing.
or landing and
Paraphrase
staircase.
that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You're all set?
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Go ahead.
You Get a civil engineer next time, we can build you a house at the right grade.
Listen to the building department before building.
Has something to do with Jingles, but what the heck is the problem with water department not getting that road locked off?
Oh, I don't know, I'm sorry. I have nothing, we have absolutely nothing to do with
But everybody that's in,
DPW here.
every neighbor that's connected to that whole situation has nothing but gravel on their front lawns because they can't get over there and finish it.
Have you seen the intersection of Foster Street into Hadwin?
Hey, at least we got asphalt.
Well, yeah, but the people's side mailboxes are over here. They have to go, they've been for the last 3 months or 2 months picking up their mail at the post office because the postmaster or postman can't get to the mailboxes. And the contract that they have with that road company evidently goes out for months. It's,
What I mean, they
I don't
showed up
know.
there, they showed up there today and raked some of the stuff back into the trench. Why can't they get it hot topped?
Talk
I
to the
don't
building,
know.
the highway department.
You can, there's 3 places open for hot top all year round.
John, don't
But it's not good, it's not good.
It's better than gravel on my lawn.
John, don't you
Yeah,
have a
but we
number
don't
that
have-
you called the highway department when you had an issue? Isn't there a hotline that they have?
They have a
that-
highway number, you can look on the website, you can find a number for the highway department, call them up and
Yeah, but
talk
it's
to
a lot
them.
of districts.
No, it's the highway department that's doing the paving.
Okay, I need to move it along, sorry.
Yeah, I would suggest moving on.
I'm sorry, we can't, can I give you these back?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I was nicely
We're doing
holding
together
up
as a
this
team.
one for you.
Before we leave, I need someone to volunteer to write that decision. I can do the others.
You want me to rate it?
I'd love it if you would write
I
it.
will rate it.
Okay.
Give me the paperwork for it.
750 discussion. Yes,
What happened to Barron Way?
we did Barron Way first.
Not Barron Way,
The one that's
We
the
continued the building. and-
Wildflower Meadow?
yeah, Wildflower Meadow.
I guess that's a discussion.
That's this
That's
discussion
discussion,
now.
okay.
Yeah. I'm going to let you introduce what happened, and then I'm going to give the summary from Chris Heath, if you don't mind, okay?
So the building department received an application to finish the space above the garage at 12 Boxwood Drive. And part of the scope of work included adding dormers. And so the building permit was denied because in condition 8 of the comprehensive decision, it doesn't allow for any further additions to the exterior of the property. So, I talked with the contractor and explained the reason for the denial. He went back to the homeowner and asked the homeowner to consider just eliminating the dormers because finishing above the garage is allowed under the comprehensive permit. But the homeowner wanted to go forward with the request to see if he could have those dormers, saying that other houses have dormers. And so I explained to him that under the comprehensive decision, it would be a modification to that, and so that the board would have to make a determination whether this was an insubstantial request or a substantial request. And so this discussion tonight is basically just to make that determination. If the board finds that they deem it to be a substantial modification, then we have to do a public hearing notice, notify butters, and have a hearing within 30 days. So Sherry and I both have had some discussions with Chris Heap just as to the proper procedure for doing this, because this is a little different than when the developer comes in and asks for a modification. We weren't sure who the applicant is and the process going forward, so Sherry can take it from here. And
So a couple of things. In the past, when the developer has wanted to do a change to a comprehensive permit, they come before this board informally and ask us to make a determination if it is a substantial or an insubstantial change. Excuse me 1 minute. Did both of you just sit on the last one, so it's Kitty's turn?
No.
No, I
John
sat in the
Fields'
last
So it's
turn.
John Field's turn, thank you, okay. So to determine if it was insubstantial or substantial. And once we decide it's insubstantial, it's automatically granted. Or if we don't decide within 20 days of the request for it, it's automatically
Wait a
granted.
minute. If we decide it's insubstantial, then we can't discuss it?
That's correct. We have to first decide if it's substantial or insubstantial. We can discuss it, and then as a board, vote whether it's insubstantial or substantial.
Okay,
Now-
so, but if we vote that it's insubstantial, then they automatically get it.
Well, he gets to apply for the dormers, and then he has to take out a building permit.
and
But here's,
that opens it to,
yeah, here's the problem, yeah. Here's the problem. First of all, I've called town council, he's investigated, we called building department, and we called DHCD. No one seems to know who is the proper applicant to request a substantial versus an insubstantial change. The regs say the applicant is the LLC, that was the nonprofit organization that originally did this, which is Wildflower Meadows. But as you know, that's been turned over to the homeowners association now that owns these units. So the first sort of threshold that I'm facing as a problem is whether we even have the right applicant. However, we don't want to risk that the 20 days goes by and they're able to say they were the right applicant, so I think we need to act. I've also never done this without the applicant being in the room to explain what they're doing, so I find that a little odd this time too. But again, council and I decided that we better not let the 20 days run on this. Now, he sent me a summary of what has to happen, and in the summary, it says, changes that are determined to be substantial or insubstantial. The following matters generally are substantial: an increase of more than 10% of the height of the building, an increase of more than 10% of the number of units, reduction in the size of the site, change in building type, change from one form of housing to another. The following matters generally will not be substantial: reduction in the number of housing units, a decrease less than 10% in the floor area, a change in the number of bedrooms if such changes do not, and it's, the typing stopped, but I think do not violate the septic permit has got to be the only thing I can think of was the end of that sentence. Change in color or style is not substantial. Change in the financing program. Our comprehensive permit decision, however, was very specific about issues of septic capacity and issues of drainage and runoff. The site was marginal in terms of the wetlands and the conservation. And so one of the decision conditions, number 6, says, for every 100 square feet of building footprint, a recharge trench of 2 feet wide by 2 feet deep by 3¼ feet long or equivalent bottom area and volume is required. This doesn't apply to uncovered decks. It also says the attic or basement may be finished as part of the original construction at any time hereafter, provided that the finished space may never be used as a sleeping area. And then another condition says, the exterior of the Wildflower Meadow models may not be changed or revised so as to create additional interior space, including dormers, besides what is shown on the approved plans. Now, as I read that, the reason they don't want additional space is because you have drainage and runoff issues and recharge issues.
No, we talked about this when we granted this permit. We talked about it in great detail about the models. Jeff Jeff and Alan both went over the models and the designs and the looks, and the fear was not just for, these houses are so close. There was real concern about them getting bigger. They're very tightly spaced.
And so, carrying that logic forward, if we are inclined to allow one shed dormer, we have to anticipate that the entire project would be allowed to add shed dormers on every single unit. And that, coupled with the specificity of the models, the septic size, and the drainage, personally, I think, will put us in the category of justifying that we can call this a substantial change. Now, if we vote that it's a substantial change, we have 30 days to notice a public hearing. The applicant can come forward, and again, who's the correct applicant is still to be decided, but I wouldn't get bogged down in that, because I have a feeling that the only way it makes sense is for the homeowners association to be the applicant after the project owner disappears. So I think that we'll find that the homeowners association is the correct applicant, but
As opposed to just the owner of that unit?
yes.
Because they're condos.
Yes, I don't think the owner, I don't think the
Yeah,
owner
that's true.
can make this application. And he originally made the application, and then he said, well, I'm on the homeowners association, so the next letter came through, signed by the homeowners association. But anyway, if we vote that it's a substantial change, we have to schedule a public hearing within 30 days and then make our decision within, I think he said 10
Within
days,
30 days of tonight or 30 days of his application?
30 days of tonight.
Okay.
And so first we need to decide if it's substantial or insubstantial.
I think you mentioned in the things that were substantial, dormer was specifically listed. So since he wants to put a dormer on it, it's substantial.
It would be in this case, because we very carefully put it in the decision not to allow the dormers.
So now you're asking.
Because we were worried about the size of these houses growing, and because they are so carefully, they are so tight. I mean, I have very mixed feelings here, because they're condos. If everyone's happy with dormers, and everyone has dormers, and then what's it hurt anyone? But on the other hand, they are very tight, and fire codes, and those things are all a concern.
I think it just says you can't add dormers, therefore it's a substantial change.
I think it's a
Right
substantial
there.
change.
I think you're
Care
right.
about anything else.
We have, because it says point blank in the decision that dormers aren't allowed.
So we certainly would like to see some kind of plans before making.
So I
Final
would,
decision.
we don't make a motion, we just,
We need to make a motion whether this board determines it substantial or insubstantial.
I would make a motion that we determine that the addition of dormers on Wildflower Meadows would be a substantial change.
Now, the next thing is,
John just seconded it.
can't.
You have to-
seconded by John.
Yes, he can.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're first, I thought you and I are. Never
No,
mind.
you're off. He's on.
On second. You know, good.
The second thing is,
You have to-
second
we have
and
to vote
vote.
then.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then the second thing, we have to schedule a hearing within 30 days, and it needs to be noticed, and the board needs to vote that we ask the applicant to pay for publication and abutter notices, because there's a lot of abutters in this one.
Well, luckily our next meeting's in 28 days.
Is it?
Good.
February, yeah.
29 days in February this year.
no, we set this before the.
Before
It's on a
16th
Thursday, it's gotta be
at
28 days.
7:30?
Let's double check that count.
What date?
No, we,
I'm sorry.
February.
February.
Yeah, February 16th at,
come on.
7:30.
do we have anything else yet on the agenda?
Just the continued Bell case.
I thought it was continued. That's my notes.
Oh, that's why I had April. You're right. So February, you're right. You can do 7:15 if you want it.
February.
All right. It's going to be a little longer than a 10-minute discussion, so if anything more comes in, give it 20 minutes.
Oh, God, give it a half an hour.
Yeah.
I have that at 7:25. so I-
This is gonna be very interesting if the
Janet,
homeowners association wants
Give it
to
at least
pay.
half an hour, okay? Don't make anyone else sit through that.
Now, somebody's got to notify him that we've got this clock ticking.
So then, because I have it 7:25, then why don't you make it after?
So
Yeah,
it's,
let's make it 7:45.
actually, look at
But
the
if the
calendar,
7:25 gets
it's 5 weeks.
over quickly or postponed or something, we gotta sit around for 20
What
minutes.
is, what is
It's,
this?
February 20th.
It's 5 weeks from today.
What's February 20th?
Is our next meeting.
That's the
Yeah,
third.
today's the 16th, so it'll be no later than the 13th or something.
It has, yeah, we have to
Or
move up the
30,
meeting from the
15.
20th to the 13th.
Boy, that's kind of puts us in a little bind there. in that regard.
Okay, we have to move up the meeting.
To have a meeting, I mean, we would need time to get something in the newspaper, so I don't even think we could do it.
Yeah, I don't think you have time.
in 4 weeks.
I'd ask for an
We'd
extension.
have to put it in tomorrow. to get in for the-
We can't ask for an extension. If we do not post the meeting within 30 days, they are granted.
If we don't
We
hold the
can put
meeting.
it in the little sun.
Meeting is different than
If
posting it.
you,
I mean, yeah.
But I had, the first one has to go in less than 2 weeks from now.
You want to change the meeting next month to the 13th? Night before Valentine's Day. Any vacations going on?
That is spring break, isn't it?
No,
It's for schools?
the 17th is spring break.
Can you all make the
Next week.
13th? Okay, next
When we
meeting
have
is the
scheduled now
13th.
is in the middle of
Do
spring
you
break.
need to change somebody that's already
Oh, okay.
scheduled for the 20th?
Oh, it's probably better anyways, because it's not going to be in the middle of spring break that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one case on for the, already for the.
Did you
20th.
advertise already?
I have till tomorrow to change it.
I think
If we
need
have to have
change
an
it to
extra
the
meeting.
13th. We can have an extra meeting, or we can change that other one. You all right changing it? Okay, February 13th, and then I would put the other one on at 7:15, and put this on at 7:30. You happy with that?
Yep.
So we probably should know if somebody's willing to pay for the ads and so on in less than 2 weeks, then we can find out if we're gonna hold the meeting or they back out, change their mind.
Withdraw the
contact
petition.
them tomorrow morning and tell them
It's a substantial change.
It's just,
substantial change
You-
in the requirements are.
the board voted it, and just put it in writing so that we got a trail of history running.
No, we have to, I mean, if they choose not to do it, then. I had told him he was probably gonna have to pay a filing fee, so they're aware that there's charges associated with this, so.
If we can't
You can also tell them that,
deny it.
Oh, I've already told him, I
Yeah.
said, that- I mean, I've already said that this will be passed, and they said they wanted to go forward with it, so.
Now, if we grant, Kevin decided it is a substantial change. I think we can then decide that this particular case is allowed.
Modification to the permit, if you allow that. It would be, remember when we met a couple years ago with about the fences?
Yeah.
It affects it all, it's not, it's a modification to the.
We can't-
the
We'd have to-
decision.
we'd have to
It
actually
opens it
delete.
up to everybody.
We can't just give them a special permit or something.
no,
Well,
and we'd have
that's
to actually
interesting.
delete the dormer restriction.
Right.
And those houses are so tight.
Okay, I think we're done. Anybody want to move to adjourn?
Move we adjourn the meeting?
Second?
All
He
in
wants to
favor?
stick around.
Aye. Now I need a drink.